Welcome back. Chapter 9 Charlie. I spent all day Sunday ricocheting between being pissed and embarrassed. My hangover didn't help matters. After Simon left, I uncorked that second bottle of wine and drowned both of my shame and my desire. When Monday rolled around, I decided that I dodged a bullet. It was a moment of weakness. I wanted to hate him for walking away, but for some reason, it made me respect him. And you right, because mm-hmm. It gave me a glimpse of his true character. I had to assume that most guys would have taken what I had offered and been happy to get laid and then bail without guilt. But not Simon. He wanted more than a quick fuck. But I wasn't capable of more. Yes, you are. Not now, and not for the foreseeable future. Or was I? If I was giving off mixed signals before, now my emotions were spinning like the weather vane at our country estate. Former country estate, actually, since it had been auctioned off by the feds. Damn it, wasn't thinking about that today. I glided up to the dirty dog, parked my bike, and chained it to the drain pipe next to the back door. I was seriously contemplating taking Huck to obedience school. He was getting bolder when it came to the horse drawn carriages, so my choices included obedience school, not riding my bike while holding his leash, or leaving him at home to laze around in the oasis all day. But I like to think that he preferred to be where I was. It hadn't helped that I seen a dark haired guy in a suit and ended up distracted by thoughts of Simon. The store was quiet when I unlocked the back door and Huck trotted inside. Usually, F beat me to work every day. Maybe she'd taken her own advice and gone out and got herself a man for the night. She was cagey about her past, but I had a feeling that her last relationship hadn't ended well. She referred to the guy as only the ex, so I didn't even know his name. I calculated it had ended around the time I showed up in New Orleans because she was distant during our first few months of working together. We hadn't really become close until last September when we discovered our mutual love of classic rock and punk bands. In a city that revved jazz and partied to Zydeco, classic rock and punk weren't exactly at the top of the playlist. After she let her guard down some, we gone bar hopping with the tourists down Bourbon Street. Our friendship had been cemented while holding each other's hair back at Pat O'Brien's. As a Crescent City native, Ev would never admit to the indignity and was sworn to secrecy. She strolled in 15 minutes late with a wide, satisfied smile. You totally got laid this morning, didn't you? I asked. Her smile, if possible, got wider. Oh, hell yes, I did. You never told me that Khan was a stallion in a sack. No, she didn't. What the fuck? I gasped. Seriously? I mean, what the hell? When she registered my look of shock, her feline smile faded. Oh shit. I thought you were done with your friends with benefit things with him. I never would have if I thought you were. Girl, thinking and her telling you are two different things. You should have asked. So that means she ain't going back with Khan. I held up a hand. It's fine. I'm not jealous. I'm just surprised. And I wasn't jealous. I didn't even feel a pain. It was like my body had moved on from Khan and wanted someone new. He who would remain unnamed. So what happened with Simon? Ev asked. Okay, maybe he wouldn't remain unnamed. Nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. To myself, I added, except I sort of threw myself at him and saw him naked, and good God. Ev leaned back against the counter. That's too many nothings in one sentence for that to be the truth. Spill it, girl. Do I have to? I winced at my whiny tone. It was not attractive. After that answer, hell yes, you do. She crossed her arms and pinned me with her amber stare. I took in her golden brown skin and curly dark locks. She had on a teal halter dress with pink and teal platforms. You look really nice today, by the way. She narrowed her eyes. Spill now. I rolled my eyes and spilled. Her mouth was hanging open by the time I finished recounting the events of Saturday night. So you see, it was a humiliating mess, and I'm better off having dodged that bullet. She closed her gaping mouth and tapped her finger to her lips. Damn, only you, Charlie. Only you will find a guy who won't let you one night him. I gotta see this man who's got your wet panties in a twist. She moved behind the counter and started typing. I could only assume she was Googling him. I forced myself to stay where I was. Holy shit, now that's a man. Damn, can he wear a black tie and in a uniform? She fanned herself. I clenched my fist, embracing the sting of my nails digging into my palm. She started to read. Simon Jefferson Dutchison, age 31, highly decorated fighter pilot, honorable discharge from the Navy 2 years ago, after he spent a year teaching at his alma mater, the United States Navy Academy in Annapolis, only son of Jeffrey Dutchison and Margaret LeBlanc Dutchison. The senior Mr. Dutchison served 16 years as a congressman for Louisiana 2nd Congressional District, leaving his seat to run for governor. After he was defeated in his gubernatorial, hold on, let me highlight that word, being that I'm struggling, bid, he purchased a small Mississippi River shipping company, Southern Cross Logistics, which he has grown over the past decade to the ranks of the Fortune 500. Currently, the younger Mr. Dutchison is serving as vice president of Southern Cross. In addition to being a councilman for District A of the NOLA City Council, it is rumored he will be announcing his candidacy this fall to challenge the incumbent for his father's congressional seat. I'd known the bare bones of this information, but hearing the details just highlighted our differences, once again reminding me why it was better I avoided him. I tried to tell myself this was a good thing. Then she continued. Simon Dutchison is frequently accompanied to charity events by longtime friend Vanessa Frost. Rumors abound as to the couple's status, and all are speculating whether Mr. Dutchison will pop the question prior to hitting the campaign trail. Miss Frost is the daughter of Royce Frost, CEO of Louisiana Steel Products, and the late Amelia Bennett Frost, heiress to the Bennett textile empire. The roar of blood rushing in my ears drowned out whatever Ed said next. I exhaled, feeling like someone had punched me in the gut. Longtime friend popped the question. A fucking Harris? What the hell? So why the fuck was he naked in the background on Saturday night? And why am I so pissed? I pushed the anger and disappointment away. I told myself that now I knew I dodged a bullet. I didn't screw around with guys who were taken. But if he were the cheating asshole I wanted to paint him as, why wouldn't he have jumped at the opportunity and Nell and Belle? Nothing about Simon Dutchison added up. Charlie, my attention snapped back to Ev. Calm the hell down. It's all gossip from the society pages. Who knows the truth? I say action speaks louder than this trash. She gestured to the monitor. It doesn't matter. I mean, whatever happened Saturday night was an anomaly, not to be repeated. I'll probably never see him again anyway. Why had I felt the need to track on the last sentence, like I wanted to see him again? Ugh. The rest of my shift passed slowly, and I was gearing up to head out when we closed at 5 o'clock. Mondays weren't busy, so we've been able to get ready for closing while the store was still open. Huck was bouncing on his paws, eager to get outside when I clipped the leash of his collar. I was pretty excited too, because I had the rest of the night free. Cognizant of Huck's excess energy, I decided to walk my bike rather than risk another encounter that would require first aid. We were 7 blocks away from the store and 3 blocks away from home when all hell broke loose. I was distracted, thinking about everything Ev had read to me earlier, and then I turned my head and watched the whole scene unfold in slow motion. The carriage turning the corner, Huck tugging the leash from my negligent grip and darting into the street after it. The street sweeper careened down the narrow road. Excuse me. I screamed as the truck clipped Huck's torso and rear legs, sending him spinning towards the sidewalk on the other side of the street. I dropped my bike and ran into the road, barely missing getting hit myself. His broken body was sprawled in the gutter, his chest heaving, and a pool of blood was forming and running into the streets. Oh! I dropped to my knees beside him and held back my vomit as I saw one of his rear leg bones protruding from beneath the skin and a gash along his side. I flipped the fur back over the wound, not able to stomach looking inside him. The truck hadn't stopped, nor had the car behind it. The carriage was gone. The streets of the quarters were rarely empty, but of course now, when I desperately needed someone, it was deserted. Tears streamed down my face, and I fumbled with my bag where it still hung across my body. I pulled out my phone and pressed buttons. I had 4 numbers. One of them had to answer. It rang once, twice, and then someone picked up. Charlie? It was not a voice I expected to hear, but I didn't fucking care. Charlie, I can hear you breathing. I need you. Now. Please. Help me. The words were disjointed symbols strangled by my sobs. I could almost feel the change in Simon's demeanor through the phone. Where are you? What happened? I'm getting in my car. Tell me where I'm going. I looked up. Corner of Toulouse and Dauphine. Huck got hit by a car. My words broke off when Huck's eyes blinked open at his name. Please, hurry. I'm on my way. I'm not far. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Just breathe, Charlie. Huck yelped, and I dropped the phone back into my bag. I stroked Huck's head and spoke to him in low, soothing tones. He tried to move his back legs and yelped again, and his panting breath sped up. I tried to hold him steady. His big brown eyes stared into mine. It's going to be okay, baby. I promise you're going to be fine. I swear. Simon lied. He was there in less than 5 minutes, but it still seemed like eternity. My face was buried in Huck's neck, trying to keep him still, listening to his panting whimpers. I heard the roar of an engine before a vehicle jerked to a stop on the street next to me. The door flew open, but I didn't look up. I kept my eyes locked on Huck. A hand on my shoulder snapped me out of my stupor. Charlie, step back for a second. Simon was holding a gray cargo blanket. We need to get the blanket under him to lift him into the back. We're going to do it together, okay? I moved towards Huck's head and Simon laid the blanket down. Fuck, he breathed. Need to wrap up his wound before we can move him. Simon was all business, ripping off his suit coat and wrapping it around Huck. His dress shirt and tie became a tourniquet around Huck's hindquarters. Never done a field dressing on a dog, but this is the best I can do. He worked the blanket under Huck's body, trying to jostle him as little as possible. Huck whimpered and tried to move. Hold still, buddy. Simon stood and spun to hit a button in the car. The tailgate of his BMW X5 rose. Wearing only a white t-shirt and suit pants, Simon crouched next to me. He nodded towards Huck's head. You get his head, It's going to be a tight fit, but the back seat is down. As soon as we got him in, as soon as we got him in, climb over the seat and try to keep him calm. I'll get us there as fast as I can without bouncing him around too much. Got it? When I didn't reply, he grabbed my shoulders and shook me. Charlie, you with me? Yeah, I nodded. Okay, let's do this. We awkwardly maneuvered Huck into the SUV, and my heart clenched at every whimper and whine. Once he was settled, I scrambled onto the back of the seat so I could sit next to him. Simon put the car in drive and activated his Bluetooth system. I only half listened to his call, but it seemed he was relaying Huck's condition to someone. He made another call, but I was deaf to everything but Huck's whimpering. Long minutes later, we pulled up to a large white and tan building, and 3 women and a man in scrubs scurried out, carrying a dog stretcher. Simon popped the tailgate, and the man started calling out orders to the others. A strong arm wrapped around my middle as I tried to follow them as they maneuvered Huck out of the car. Come on, let's go, he said, pulling me back out the side door. When we entered the building, my eyes darted around, but Huck was already gone. I tugged at Simon's arm, which was still wrapped around my waist, holding me upright. Where is he? Where did they take him? A woman at the reception desk responded. They've taken him back to surgery. He's in good hands, ma'am, she said. She slid a clipboard across the counter. I'll need you to fill out some forms for him. She hesitated. I'll need a credit card. I bit my lip. I don't have a credit card. I looked down at the forms. Shit. It was like going to the fucking emergency room. Something I've been happy to avoid for a year because I worked too damn hard to stay off the radar. Simon shoved the clipboard away. I've already instructed Jack to add him to Duchess's account. Her eyes went wide. Oh, of course, Mr. Duchess. I apologize. Simon nodded at her and led me to the bathroom where we both washed the blood from our hands. The gravity of the situation was further highlighted by the swirling red waters running down the drain. My breathing escalated and I started to feel lightheaded. Simon once again wrapped his arms around me as he directed me into the waiting area and pushed me down into a chair. He crouched in front of me, pulling my hands into his. Charlie, you need to breathe. You're going to hyperventilate, and I don't want to have to take you to the ER too. I looked down at our joined hands. His were big, tan, with little white scars on the knuckle. They didn't look like politician hands. Mine's appeared childlike in his grip. My nails were short, oval painted black. His thumbs brushed back and forth over my wrists where the ink stopped and unmarked skin started. I matched my breathing to his, slow and rhythmic. He squeezed my hands and I looked up to meet his eyes. I said the first thing that came into my head. It better not be nothing stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I wasn't even trying to call you. I don't even know how I called you. He squeezed my hands again and I went silent. It's okay. I get it. I wouldn't have been your first call if you had your shit together. What? No, I didn't mean. I just meant I shouldn't have troubled you. I gave him what I hoped was a heartfelt stare, but I'm really glad you came. I don't know what I would do without him. He's just a baby. A fresh wave of tears spilled over and Simon released my hands to wipe them away with his thumb. Jack's going to do everything he can for Huck. I promise. He's one of the best. I wouldn't have brought him here otherwise. He paused, catching another tear on his thumb. I'm glad you called me. You scared the hell out of me, but I'm glad it was me you called, even if you didn't mean to. I'll pay you back for everything, I promise. I don't do credit cards, but I have cash at my place. I'll pay you back every dime, I swear. I hope I wasn't lying, because I knew this wasn't going to be cheap. It'll probably wipe out my emergency fund, but I didn't care. I'd do whatever I had to do to make sure Huck was okay. Let's not worry about it right now. Jack's an old friend. We'll work it out. He stood, stretched, and sat in the chair beside me, threading his arm around my shoulders. We're going to be waiting for a while, so why don't you try to chill, okay? It was so easy to let my head rest against his solid shoulders. I felt some of my tension drain away, but I couldn't get the picture of Huck lying in the street out of my head. Ah, Huck. That's the dog. He got hit. 2 hours later, I was pacing the waiting room. I'd already flipped through the damn near every magazine without reading a single word. The door to the back of the clinic opened and a man in black scrubs stepped out. He looked to be in his early 30s and was classically handsome, blonde hair with striking green eyes. But I didn't give a shit what he looked like. All I cared about was the name embroidered in red above his pocket. Dr. Rich. Simon rose and reached out a hand. The vet shook it. How's Huck? I crossed the room, barreling into Simon's side in an attempt to get closer to the vet. Please, how is he? Why don't you come in here for a moment? He gestured to a small private room connected to the waiting room. Why? What's wrong? Please. My words died, and a dread spread through me as I followed Simon inside. Just let Jack tell us, okay, Charlie? I refused to sit, so Simon stood beside me, and the vet leaned against the closed door. He made it through surgery. He's in recovery. Relief momentarily smothered the dread, but I needed more information. Made it through surgery didn't sound promising. And his leg was severely broken, and I had to screw a stainless steel plate directly into the bone. Because of his size, it was really the only option we had. The upside is he'll be able to walk a little sooner than he would otherwise. He also had extensive internal bleeding, but we were able to stop it. I'd like to keep him here for at least a week so we can monitor the initial stage of his recovery. It was a hard hit. He's very lucky. I stumbled to a chair and dropped my head in my hands. I was thrilled he was going to be okay, but the hours of waiting had sapped my energy. He's really going to be okay. I felt like I had to ask one more time just to make sure I hadn't superimposed the words I wanted to hear over his. The vet nodded. He's young, otherwise healthy, and a fighter. Barring any unforeseen complications, he should be just fine. Can I see him? I asked. Dr. Rich nodded. Just for a few minutes. We're keeping him sedated so he doesn't further injure himself. He led us back through the clinic to a wide room containing what looked like horse stalls. Huck was laid out on his side on a thick stack of blankets covering the floor. An oxygen cannula? Oops, that's a word I've never seen before. An oxygen cannula in his nose. The vet opened the chain link gate and I knelt and stroked Huck's silky ear. I whispered nonsense to him for several minutes before kissing the furry forehead and standing. Can I come back in the morning? Anytime you want. And if you have any questions, Simon has my cell number. Feel free to call me. If I'm in a procedure, I'll call you as soon as I'm finished. And you'll call us if anything changes, Simon asked. Absolutely, man. He's in good hand. We'll watch him all night and call you immediately if there's any changes in his condition. I shuddered at the thought and hoped we were through the worst of it. I dejectedly thought about going home to my empty apartment. Harriet was still gone, so there would be no crashing with her for company. As good as I got at being a loner, I really didn't want to be alone tonight. My mind was whirling, trying to figure out who I was going to call and beg to sleep on their couch. Things were still awkward with Khan, so that left Delilah or Ev. Delilah lived with her brother and let Ev lived alone. But for all I knew, Ev might still be with Khan. Damn it. Simon helped me into his SUV before rounding the hood and climbing into the driver's seat. I was still contemplating my limited possibilities when I realized we weren't driving back to the French quarters. I live that way. I pointed toward the rear of the vehicle. I know. Simon didn't turn the car around. He just continued to St. Charles Ave. Where are we going? He didn't answer. We headed down 3rd Street and slowed as we entered the heart of Garden District. He hit a button on the rearview mirror and turned into a driveway where a section of elegant green fences topped with fleur de lis were sliding open. Well, where the hell are we? Simon hit the button again and the fence closed behind us. He hit another button as we pulled up to a garage around the side of one of the most gorgeous homes I've ever seen. It was easily as large as many of the homes in the Hamptons and was built in the similar in a similar neoclassic Italian style, but that was besides the point. Girl, you at his house. Where the hell are we? My house. Well, to be fair, it's my parents' home, but I live here as well. I didn't know which fact to take an issue with first, so I tackled them both. You still live with your parents? Why didn't you take me home? He opened the driver's door and exited the vehicle, ignoring both of my questions. I was still sputtering when he opened the passenger door and unbuckled my seatbelt. I smacked his hands away. What the hell, Simon? He frowned, his features turning dark in the dim light of the garage. You don't need to be alone tonight, and for some inexplicable reason, I want to help you. So stop being so prickly and independent for a goddamn minute and let me. I glared at him. Don't tell me what to do exactly. Who you yelling at, Simon? Don't be yelling at her, even though she said she didn't want to be alone, but you don't know that. And don't freaking kidnap me without asking first. Girl. He scrubbed a hand across his face. Fine, I'll take you home. He walked back around the car and opened the driver's door again. But I've already gotten out. He was dead on. I didn't want to be alone tonight. Simon slapped both hands on the roof of the car before peering through the cabin to where I stood outside the open passenger door. Are you always this stubborn? I shrugged. I don't know. I can't help it. He slammed the driver's door shut a second time and came around the hood and grabbed me by the hand. Come on, woman. He went old school. He led me out of the garage, and when we didn't go towards the main house, I looked up at him confused. Where are we going? I live in a guest house. I smirked. So you only sort of live with your parents. Aren't you a little old for that? He tugged on my hand. Trust me, I was going to buy my own place when I got out of the Navy. You would have thought I told my parents I was taking a vow of silence. To say they were horrified is putting it mildly. When I refused to move home, my father had the guest house renovated, and my mother guilted me into it. It would make them feel so much better to have someone on the property when they're traveling. And they'd missed out on so much time with me while I was in the service. It was easier just to give in. You're a mama's boy, aren't you? As much as any good old Southern boy. I like sports, hunting, fishing, fast car, faster women, but I love my mama. I smiled slightly, but my heart wasn't in it. His statement made me think about my relationship with my own mother, which was too screwed up for such a pure sentiment. We walked through the front door of a house a fraction of the size of the mansion, and Simon turned to face me. Hey, Huck's gonna be all right. Jack's one of the best. He'd mistaken my silence as concern for Huck, and guilt flooded me. I spent 2 minutes not worrying about my pup. I was a bad daughter and a bad dog mom. Let me find out you got some. Okay. Thank you again for everything. I looked away and took in the dark panel interior of the foyer and the crystal chandelier hanging overhead. A wide gleaming wooden staircase curved up the second floor. I stood dumbly. I didn't want to get the grime of my person on this pristine furnishing. How about a shower? Simon asked. That would be great, I started, but paused to look down at my blood smeared shirt. But I don't have any other clothes. I'll find something for you. Might be a little big, but they'll work for the night. Okay, thanks. I followed as Simon led the way up the stairs, lost in my own thoughts. He seemed to understand that I needed the silence and didn't fill it with inane chatter. He gestured to a bathroom and opened the glass enclosure to flip on the water and adjust the temperature. Wait just a minute. He left and returned with a fluffy white robe, a t-shirt, and boxers. He stacked them on the counter. Thanks, I whispered again. He closed the door as he left me alone in the white and gold bathroom that was quickly filling with steam. I stripped and stepped into the shower. I let the water cascade over me, soaking my hair and skin. Whatever strength had been holding me together was washed away with the grime and remaining traces of Huck blood. I lowered myself to the tile floor, wrapped my arms around my knees, and let myself fall apart. And that's the end of chapter 9. Okay, I like this chapter, even though it has something sad in it. I sure hope that Huck is good, but I think he gonna learn his lesson about running after carriages. And I like I like their interactions together. I like that he was the one that was on her mind, so she called him. I like that he wasn't far away and he came regardless of what happened. Um, I'm sure they're gonna talk about it later. And what else? Anything else that this chapter? I just like this chapter. So there were two words that I think I know what the meaning is. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. So stay tuned for the definition video. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. This is the definition video. And the first word is spelled Gubernatorial. I think I pronounced it gubernatorial. Gubernatorial. We about to find out.
Gubernatorial.
Gubernatorial. One more time.
Gubernatorial.
Okay. So it's an adjective and it's relating to a state of governor or the office of a state governor. Yeah, it's there. I get it now. Okay. And it fit perfectly into the sentence. Okay, so the second word is spelled Cannula. Cannula. But we about to see how it's pronounced.
Cannula.
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 Cannula. Okay, it's a noun. It's a noun. A thin tube inserted into a vein or body cavity to administer medicine, drain off fluid, or insert a surgical instrument. Makes sense. I just didn't know how to pronounce it or the definition of it. Okay, well, that's all I have for the word. The words, and I shall see you in the next chapter, which is chapter 10. Bye.